Check. 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 You guys hear me? Check. Okay, everybody. I'm going to start the class now. This is Steve, your multifamily specialist here from the Independent Investors Association. I'm just going to give a second while a couple people log in, and we'll be right back with the class. Check. Check. All right. Yay, we made it. All right. Seem to be still missing Mike. I'm not quite sure about that, but let me text him real quick and then we'll get started. All right. So, any questions from those in the audience before we get started? And just to remind everybody, use the Yahoo chat or YouTube chat rather to show us your questions. I told you I don't have YouTube on my computer right now. Okay, so since we got nothing from the audience, let's roll on with the training for today. The primary training, and I'm going to present my screen now. Stop screen. All right, Mike, you made it. Adding you to the stream. All right, there's Mike. Sharing screen. All right.
Hey, everybody.
So now let's switch over to the other browser. Oh, the Chrome go. There it is. All right. So, Marketing 101. Last week, we said everybody should get their Facebook page, Instagram page, Twitter, all of them set up for real estate. Hoping everyone did that. Everyone should have a Gmail account dedicated to this, or other email account dedicated to this, a phone number, which is Google Voice, dedicated to that. So let me just pull up real quick. If you don't know where to go to Gmail or mail.google.com. That gets you a Gmail account. Once you have that, you go to voice.google.com and get a Google Voice number attached to that email address. Yes, you'll also need to attach it to your cell phone, download the voice app, whatever. Get your, there are other providers you can use. Google just happens to be free, so it's one of the easier ones. Then, of course, get your Facebook and everything else lined up. The free marketing class or free marketing ideas are mostly let your circle know about you. If you have absolutely $0, not low dollars, let your circle know about you. Let people on Facebook, Twitter, whatever, copy and resend some of our content. We will start producing little shorts this week. Mike, I think, has a bunch on his Facebook already.
Yep.
That you can grab and reuse and edit and use for ideas and whatever. Be putting stuff out about real estate. These channels are not your playtime, Facebook and YouTube and Instagram. These are your work ones. You want to keep this as much about work as possible. When people try to bait you into political, don't fail the test. Stay out of it. Stay out of politics, stay out of religion, because all you're going to do is piss off at least half the people. Then we start talking about paid marketing ideas. One of the most common is bandit signs. We love them, we hate them. It's probably going to be a minute or so till you guys see this on the screen. By the way, guys, it's about a 2-minute delay from what we say to what gets out into the universe. But bandit signs are relatively cheap. You can get them for $1, $2 a piece in bulk. You know, maybe 3 or 4 with the stakes and everything. And keep it simple. When we talk about keep it simple, I went to the yard sign company websites for a reason. That's all someone who's driving by your sign has time to digest. We buy houses cash fast, or we buy houses simple web address, phone number, or something like that. You don't have a lot of time in a drive-by. This should also be one version of your business card. Ideally, they should kind of match. But this is the kind of business card that you leave at gas stations or whatever. For this purpose, you really should have 2 Google Voice numbers. You should have one that is your permanent forever number that you're going to use for the important stuff like professional business cards. You should have another one for your bandit signs that if you had to bail on it and get a new one every month, it's not going to kill you. That way, if you start getting chased by your local municipality for putting up bandit signs, there's a way of getting out of that. Another great marketing idea, at least worked well for me anyway, is postcards. These are designed to be more targeted. I have a postcard for obituary probate. I have a postcard for tired landlord. I have a postcard for divorces. I have a postcard for a whole bunch of different categories. Delinquent taxes, delinquent foreclosures. I have postcards for a lot of different things. I don't use them as much anymore because, frankly, leads are coming in, but they are a great way to get started. And by the way, when I say leads are coming in, you guys and folks like you are the main and most important source for us in our growth, is helping other people grow their business, and that way we all make money. Remember, that's why we're all here, is to partner on deals and closings. Then, who do you send these postcards to? Take it from somebody who tried it. You don't want to be sticking stamps and sticking labels. Trust me, it sounds like, oh my God, that's so easy. I'll just sit in front of the TV and put stamps and labels on 1,000 postcards. Oh my God, I could barely get through 300 in 8 hours. It's just more physically time consuming than you think to peel the stamp, put it on the thing, peel the label, put it on the thing, put it in the pile. Pick up the next one. Peel. Trust me, you're going to like yourself better if your postcards and mailers are done by somebody else. So what you need for that is you need me to be in the other browser. You need a mailing list. You can buy them. You can sometimes get them from your counties. You can sometimes get them, if you are good with data, scraping off the internet for free. I like to buy mine. I like to buy vacant properties. I like to buy absentee owner properties. I like to buy high and low equity. We'll get into these more in future classes. But you buy a list, you skip trace it, because a lot of times it only comes with information. You skip trace it to get the owner's phone number, and then you send a mailer. I sent one right before Christmas. I'm sorry, no, I didn't do a mailer. I did phone calls. I used this list. We hired a VA. She dialed for dollars, and now we're preparing to do our second round of that, which is text message and digital marketing. That's another very affordable way. You buy a list. We can show you some text messaging software, text message, email message, voicemail drops. Less so, though. The voicemail drop laws are changing, getting less favorable to us. But it all starts with a good list. Whether you're mailing, you're phone calling, you're texting, it all starts with a good list. Those of you who are a little more tech savvy, there are things called geofencing softwares, which basically say when a cell phone crosses into a Home Depot, for example, that person should get a text message. It's a little more complicated than that, but that's the general idea when they cross a certain parameter. One guy I know down in North Carolina, he has an SEO, search engine optimization program of sorts that is targeted over geofencing. So people who visited bankruptcy attorneys and searched for sell my house, boom, he's in their face. Grant Chandler, you guys might know how they did it. I don't. Oh, I thought you were already in, Mike. Sorry, man. I thought you were in. I saw your message say, let me in. You were already in.
Yeah, I was, and then I got out. I don't know what happened.
Oh, all right.
It's okay. I'm listening.
So you're back. All right. So basic 101 marketing is primarily for the beginners. I like business cards and bandit signs. Flyers are like bandit signs. Same idea. Because this is something you can print up 1,000 flyers that look like this, go to Lowe's on a Saturday, put them in every window. And the one thing you know is 1,000 people have touched your message. My other favorite one is my truck and trailer, and soon my other vehicles. I have one trailer, I'm working on a second one, I have another vehicle, and I'm working on getting my Jeep painted. And I'm just going to park them in different parking lots. You got to watch and make sure you don't get yourself towed and whatever. Trailers are tougher because you've got to make sure they're attached to a vehicle or they become illegal all of a sudden. But situations like that, I'm actually renting a place to put my trailer that's on Route 11. It's just going to leave it there. But from the cheap end, bandit signs, flyers, business cards.
We did a billboard, right?
That's right. The billboard worked. What any other ideas people have?
You know, billboard was good for us. It wasn't cheap, but it was cheap for 1 year, $1,000 on a tractor trailer. And I think the first day we got the Nanocoke house.
A good way to do it for basically free too is if you have a printer, you could go and actually print out your own signs that are like We Buy Houses, and you could actually just print it and put your own phone number on it and ask people to either like stick it up in like their businesses. You could ask to partner with small businesses to do things like that, or
sure,
there's a good bit of options.
The grocery stores, when you go in and out, they usually have some little tack board. I've done that before. You print your own flyers out. Even my business card, it just says we buy NEPAhomes.com. I buy houses in any condition, cheap. I put them everywhere. Yep. I buy boxes of them. I always have, hey, buy houses. You need a house? Or because when you start talking real estate, I say, here's my card in case, you ever come across somebody. Just before I just met Steve a little while ago, somebody reached out to us about a house. He just knows we buy houses. He says, hey, this might be good. And this is a guy that will get a bird dog from us.
And that's the critical part, guys. You always want to let anyone you hand this to say, it's not only if you have a house, if you know someone that has a house or apartment building or strip mall or self-storage, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, if it's got dirt,
Property. If it's real if we just want property,
yeah,
we'll be able to sell it.
we'd be preferring not graveyard plots, but we'll take the whole graveyard. And hey, listen, we can pay you a finder's fee. And understand this is a business of statistics. This is a business of averages and volume. They say the old 25-1. For every 25 leads that you end up talking to, one of them turns into a deal. Well, that starts with a number more like 1 or 200. For every 100 or 200 flyers, whatever, for every 100 or 200 sets of eyes that see your stuff, you might end up with 1 or 2 or 5, calls, possibly more, but it takes a lot to get started. But once you get started, the four of us keep rolling, and you find other people and you pay them to help you find leads. Everybody good out there in YouTube land? Any questions? Seems like the only comment we've had was from Fred like half an hour ago. Okay.
It's fine. Just keep going.
Yeah. We'll just keep rolling. So with the lists, I don't know why I put the list in the other browser. That was silly. With the list, when you buy these lists, you buy them from suppliers, and you'll say, okay, these zip codes, this geography, whatever. I'm looking for absentee owners, which means people who own a home they don't live in. You're looking for non-owner occupied, which is kind of the same thing. You're looking for vacant property. You're looking for things that people aren't likely to love. I, for my brokerage firm, use owners of more than one deed in a certain county, because I don't care if they want to sell, they want to buy, they want to talk about lending money, they want to talk about borrowing money. I've got a little bit of a wider field so I can play a little bit in the darkness. And I have to say that list hasn't been the rocket ship I thought it was going to be. And when it comes, it's usually property name, owner name, a property address, owner name, and maybe some technical specs about it, and the owner's tax mailing address. Again, non-owner occupied. They don't live where the house is. And then you send it off to a company called a skip trace company, or you skip trace it yourself, and you get the phone number. You can send postcards right from what they send you, but usually their phone numbers and email addresses that you buy, which you should get it that way, aren't usually that useful. You probably need to skip trace it. For skip tracing, I like a software. You can say I haven't used it in a while. For skip tracing, I like a software called Forewarn. And the reason I like Forewarn, it's going to double authenticate me, so I'm going to give it a second. But what I like about Forewarn is that it gives pretty accurate information. It gives their last known 5 phone numbers, gives their last known mailing addresses. You can search by name, search by address, search by a bunch of stuff. But also they'll give you some background information on the person you might be meeting with. So in terms of a security standpoint, hey, if they're just out of jail for 5 multiple murders, maybe you don't want to go alone to a dark place. You also, another one of my favorites is anywho.com, yellowpages.com. There's a variety of those. And that's another great way to find on a free basis, and they do have paid programs, the owner of a property. Now, let's say you drove by 123 Main Street and you found out, before I tell the story, I have to show you where to find that out. You're going to want to know what your county tax assessor, tax deed office, whatever you call it, they're going to have a website. That website is going to have a tab, something like property search. You can enter the address. You can enter the name. I'll just use my company name for an example. And you'll hit submit. These are the things owned in Luzerne County by one of my companies. You go here, and here's the parcel number, here's the deed book page number, here's where the taxes go. Now, I then can go to anywho.com, search by address, put in that address, and hit find. And it'll tell me who lives there. It might even give me their phone number. But even if it just gives me who lives there, then I can use their paid version, or I can use a more advanced software like Forewarn, and I can find their phone number. This is more on the one-off usage. This is the slower way to do it one-off. But I've gone from having an address or having an owner name, either one. I did not use an address search in our county website because it's really bad. It's not very accurate, but I could. And all of a sudden, I can pull that up. And this guy happens to live in this particular house. But now I know where Franco Pablo is. I can go to one of these other sources and I can gather his phone number. And when you talk to them, how'd you get my number? Public records, sir. Just searching public records. The other thing your taxing authority deed county website will have that's a very good way to market yourself is it'll have the tax sale list. Every state does tax sales differently. Many municipalities do them differently. But in Pennsylvania, we have an upset, a private, a judicial, and a repository. We're not going to get into what these sales are, but they go in that order. You don't pay your taxes for 3 years, you're in the upset. You don't pay them, it doesn't sell at the upset and still don't get paid, it goes to the judicial and so on. Private sales kind of stuck in the middle. But when this sale list comes out, once or twice a year, depending on your county, you want to download it the day it comes out. You want to download it and you want to contact those people. You only have 30 days in Pennsylvania. The list comes out 30 days before the sale. These people are now scared because they're losing their property to taxes. So you contact them and say, hey, how can I help you? You want to sell your property? You want a loan? What's your situation? This is also a great way to drive for dollars because a lot of these houses are going to be empty. If they're empty and you know they're going to tax sale, even if we can't find the owner, we might still be interested in going to the sale and getting it. The biggest reason you go to the tax sales is because there's only one thing you know about everyone in the room at any auction. They're a cash buyer. So you want to get yourself with your company t-shirt if you have one, with your business cards definitely, to every tax sale, every sheriff sale, which is the Pennsylvania version of foreclosure sales, every auction you can find your way into, because the one thing you know is that room is full of cash. You're not allowed to finance a property.
And Steve, with that, because I've done that before, you could, it's a great place to build up your buyers list, but don't bother them before the auction. Right. Let everybody bid, buy, and then you go walk around. Hey, how you doing? I'm Mike. What kind of houses you looking for? I saw you're bidding on a house. You know, I find properties, and they'll tell you, and then you start writing down their stuff because these guys are real buyers. You know, they want to buy multiple properties, so it's good to have them on your list.
Yep. And that's why the form we sent out a week or two ago, which we'll send out again later this week, the form where you register your buyers and sellers, you can use it for both. You want to use that and you want to put that in and keep it in a spreadsheet. You want to be organized and you want to keep your buyers on one tab and your sellers on another. And when you hear of a deal, you scan your buyer's list. What do you have? When you get something under contract, you scan your buyer's list. You know, and you do the reverse. When a buyer comes to you, you scan your seller's list and see who might have what. And Mike's right. You don't bother them before the sale. This is a good example of a place where you want to have the business card with the throwaway number. Because what I did my first few sales, and it was not well received, but it was not also illegal, is I put my throwaway business card on every chair before the auction. I got there an hour before. And then I stuck around, but I didn't say anything to anybody else. And I got 5 calls walking out of there. I went to another tax sale, and I stuck a business card in every window. And I got 3 buyers out of it. Because the one thing you know about anybody in an auction is they got cash.
Hey, Steve, what about that app where was it? You drive around, we take a picture. We're driving for dollars, and we took a picture, and it sent the postcard, because that's how we met that one lady. Remember, one of the students took a picture, and it took a picture of the house and sent the lady the postcard, and that's why she called. She's like, I don't, hey, we buy houses, and I had a picture of her house, and she was excited.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a great point. I need to
I don't remember.
Well, yeah. So there's a few of them. So 2 apps you should always have on your phone, preferably both, but at least one of them is ONX Hunt. I'll pull that up here. I should have had my phone ready to go. I'll have it for our Driving for Dollars class in a couple weeks. But ONX Hunt is, I know it's shocking to all of you, but it's a hunting app. It has nothing to do with real estate. But what it is it will tell you
who has a gun in their house.
No. You wish that, but no, because it'd be easy pickings. It'll tell you who owns the property. It'll give you the owner's name and mailing address for the taxable authority. The logic is you're a hunter. You found what you think is a great spot. Holy crap, I'm lost in the woods. Who owns this so I can call them when I get home? This one, HuntWise, HUNTWISE, is the same thing. HuntWise is a little more advanced than ONX Hunt because it will mail to the people. Now, what I like about ONX Hunt and HuntWise, and I'll show these to you next week when I have my Androids on the thing, is it also shows you the boundaries of the lot you're standing on. Like Mike and I and a couple of the guys were at a house last week. It's like, well, where exactly is the property line? I pulled up ONX Hunt. Well, there's where the property line is. There it is. Not exactly. It's an aerial. It's not a survey, but ballpark. This is what your lot looks like. You also want, Mike's talking about some of the Driving for Dollars apps. This one I think is actually called Driving for Dollars. And they are marketing tie-in apps. I've not paid for them in a while because they're kind of pricey for the amount that I use them. But I wouldn't mind if several people wanted to use them. I wouldn't mind. We could talk about sharing the price or whatever, sharing the access. And this was literally an app where you drive up to a house, you push the button, you aim your camera, you take a picture of it, and then you pay the system whatever number of dollars, and it mails that person a postcard with their house on it. Which, yeah, generic postcard, generic letter, that's terrific. But you get something with your house. The woman called up because she was like, how the bleep did you get a picture of my house? Well, man, public record. Or drove by your house and took a picture. And we got her house because she was shocked we spent that much time, not realizing it didn't take us 30 seconds to do. It was click, click, send.
Yeah, you take a picture and it sends it to the owner's address or the company. It didn't even send it to that address. It sent it to her, wherever she was, she was an owner occupied. So
exactly.
It sent it to whatever address that was registered, which was pretty neat. You just drove by, you took the picture, you type, hey, I buy houses for cash, and hit send, and it sent it.
Yep.
I think it was like 50 cents, $1.
It wasn't much. And the surprising thing is, and by the way, next week we're going to have a website with a lot of these links on it. And yeah, no lie, we'd like you to use our links because we got affiliate programs with a lot of them. But which gets you discounts and gets us a couple pennies. But what's cool about it is that app, okay, you're paying $50 a month or whatever for the service. But then when you want to send one of these postcards, it costs you about 85 cents to send a regular mass-produced postcard, mass-produced and mailed, it costs you, 95 cents to send this one. So yeah, it's a couple pennies more. But to send one customized to a house you just drove by or whatever, it's definitely worth considering. These apps, ONX Hunt, $25 a year per state. HuntWise, $50 a year, $75 a year for the whole country. The ones that actively support real estate investing, a little more than that, but we also do have programs where we have a lot of this technology. You're able to use it as part of our partners. Talk to us about the software we already have so you don't go buy it. And we can work out getting access to it. We also have all of the comping software. You're welcome to get it on your own if you want, but we can make it available as well. So to back up, marketing is business cards, postcards, mailing, phone calls, skip trace lists, tax authority, which is part of driving for dollars, and possibly one of these technological solutions, which will do mailing. These are your and these are your beginning, very good, very solid ways, but nothing beats having the network. Nothing beats having your people out there looking for you, wanting to get paid by you, and wanting to learn how you do it. Real funny, one of my other partners, middle management job, we were closing a deal where we each made like 20 grand, which is fairly unusual in our market, but it happens a couple times a month. And his boss came to him, was probably making 75, 60, 75. Damn it, if you ever, Ryan, this company's kind of rough. If you ever find something that can pay you your salary in just a few hours a week, let me know. And he's sitting there thinking, well, I could tell you this, but you're my boss. I don't think I want you to know. What he did do is he said, let me reverse the question. You ever find someone looking to get rid of real estate, let me know. And the guy gave him 3 leads, and the guy made some money. You will find those people that you give $200-300 from a sale so loyal to you because they've never made $200 or $300 by simply giving someone a phone number. So don't forget to let your entire network know what you do and why you do it. I'm going to try to go back to forewarn if it'll. Oh, there it is. Okay. So I'm just going to show you what a skip trace looks like. Such a shock. I'm going to skip trace me. 059715. 059715. Now, while I'm doing that, I'm also going to do anywho.com on myself as well. Now, anywho.com, whitepages.com, wow, don't always have the greatest results. I'm just going to search a more generic of me. Probably a bad choice, me.
Steve, I can't hear you. Steve?
Yep.
Okay, you went mute on us.
Oh, oops. That's weird. Oh, because I flipped my phone over and it switched modes. All right, so Sam, you said something about number one advice for people trying to enter the business. Which is what? Is that a question? Okay. Mike, what's your number one piece of advice for people?
Network. right? Tell everyone you know that you buy houses. You and your partners, they buy houses, we flip houses, we could do all that. It's really just telling people that you're looking for real estate. You're looking for distressed properties. You need to sell fast, quick. Get
Yeah.
that. You know what I mean? Right,
I mean,
Chandler?
it's literally just talking to anybody you know. I mean, like Sam O'Connell, he's in a different kind of market, or not. I shouldn't say market. I should say workplace, industry, whatever you want to call it, than us. But he knows more than anybody how to network. It's really just, Grant's got a thing that he's got going. Have a social quote of the day where you kind of require yourself to talk to a certain amount of people for a certain amount of time each day. And, those people talk. It's how relationships and networks work.
So I made it a big goal for me when I was first starting up this whole idea with, Mike, Steve, and Chandler, was I wanted to make it as known as possible that I was now in the market for real estate, and having people know that has been very beneficial to me, just because like everybody who I've recruited to actually come and work with us and partner up and make deals with us, everybody that's actually come to do it is somebody that I've had a conversation with about real estate, and just made myself go out of the way to actually talk to them and have them entertain the idea of, oh, what could happen if I go and, try and do this whole new real estate thing that, for a lot of people, it's their first time hearing about it. So it's getting yourself out there as much as possible and actually letting it known that that's what you're doing.
It looks like Steve and Sam are friends.
Apparently, I didn't know it was that Sam, but yeah, that's cool.
And he does
Sam, Steve?
and video marketing. Yeah, I mean, I would do a video every day. I make videos all the time. Hey, we buy houses. Call me.
Yeah, he's got flyers on Whoopsbear. I mean, he's got cool creative going.
Your network is your net worth. Every guru from Kiyosaki to Bazadona tell you that. You've got to get out there and let people know who you are.
Yes.
And you got to be. You taught me everything, man. You got to get out there and make sure that everyone knows, what you do, and the more groups you can get into. I mean, I'm bad at networking. I should get out to every power event, which is a young professionals kind of thing. I should get out to every one of those events, but frankly, then you wouldn't do anything else in your life but be drinking every night, which is fun, but it's hard to do with a life.
But we are going to go to more.
Yeah. But I mean, if you can get out to 1 a month, 2 a month, that's better than, that's 25, 50 more people than you would have seen if you'd stayed home those nights.
You can go to real estate meetups, go to meetup.com, find local real estate meetup groups, and go to their meetings and meet the investors and people that are doing it now and looking for properties. And you'll meet other wholesalers that are selling properties.
Yeah. And when you meet another wholesaler,
bring them in.
Their competition. Yeah, bring them in us, because they probably have no clue and they need to be taught. But they're not competition. Okay, the cool thing about real estate, it's a business where there is no competition. There's a competition to get the deal. But once you have the deal, there's no competition because everybody wants to help you sell it.
Sure. So when we come across houses we can't sell, we call other wholesalers. Hey, Chris. Hey, Sam. Hey, whatever. I got this house. You want a JV on it? Who cares? If he's got a buyer, I'll give you half. Because that's half I wouldn't have had anything. So we deal with it. We meet with a lot of people.
And also with that, you got to have a thick skin. I've got a very big buyer, client, seller, whatever on my brokerage side. Not exactly my top 10 favorite people in the world. Mike loves them. But the bottom line is, we've had our differences. We've gone back and forth on some stuff. But bottom line is, every time he needs to buy or sell a property, he calls me. It's probably $100,000 a year.
Don't take it personal.
Nothing's personal. It's business. He called me up the night before closing a deal, said he wanted a third off his commission, and it pissed me off. But I had two choices: I could make $40,000 or I could make nothing, because it was take a third off or I don't sign the contract. I'll take the $40,000 over making the nothing. I'm good with that. I'm not as good as I would have been with 60, but whatever. So on the skip trace of software like Forewarn, you see it's giving me 3 phone records, 12 address histories. one possible criminal infraction, one possible court record. Are these things perfect? God, no. But now I'm looking at this person, and this is public record. Here's his phone numbers, and here's the last time he used them. So I got a pretty good idea the one he used in 2022 might be more likely than the one he used in 2019. Problem is, in actual usage, I don't find their actually most recent means a lot. Sometimes I get better results from the 2011 phone number than the 2019. But whatever, the point is, it's giving you a fair amount of information on this person. So once you've marketed, once you've gotten out there, and you've gotten people to come to you with a property, again, this goes back to the form we sent out and we'll send out again. What do you do with it? So we'll have a whole class next week on what to do in specific with the lead. But here are the basic questions. And this is a link we'll be sending out to everybody for after you fill out the basic form. When you fill out the basic form, we'll send you this link. And this asks all the questions you need to know. We have a prettier version being built. Owner email, description, condition, blah, blah, blah. This is where we track each one of your deals. Zillow links, whatever. So really, you want to be knowing, which we'll go into next week in detail, but there are basic questions you're going to want to know about every property, preferably before you talk to the owner. If you have an address, somebody hasn't just called you out of the blue, you haven't called them out of the blue. You have a little bit of time, you do some looking around. And you want to pretty much answer these 2 pages of questions. You want to answer the physical reality of the property, which is the data entry basic. Who owns it? What are the expenses if you can figure those out? Off-street parking, general stuff about the property. If you can tell how many bedrooms, whatever. And you want all the links of anything that you can find on that property online. Google, Zillow, Realtor.com, Street View, MLS, whatever. You want to know everything about the property. So when you talk to the owner, you're able to share some information that you already know. Hey, I saw your house was listed last week for $235,000, and now you're calling me. Why? You have a place to talk to them about it. And this is the worksheet, the prettier version of it, which will be done in about a week. This is the worksheet that you want to use to walk through all the questions with them. Important when you're talking to that seller, don't make it feel like you're quizzing them. Make it feel like a conversation.
You got to do it. Listen, you don't go 1, 2, 3, 4. You just kind of like, you're talking about the kitchen. Okay. When was the last time you updated the kitchen? Because I know that's on a list. And then I write it down. Hey, how many bedrooms? It's wherever the conversation is, try to get some information from there and then go to another subject of the house. But you just don't go, oh, I need to know your address. How many bedrooms? How many bathrooms? And keep reading down a list, because then they're going to know, you're reading a teleprompter at this point. You just feel them out. They usually just tell you, can you tell me about the house? That's a good way to start. And then they start telling you about the house. Well, it's a 3-bedroom, 2 baths. Well, one of the bathrooms works, so you're writing this all down,
And we will send out the paper version or simple version of the questionnaire. You don't need to sit there with the questionnaire, but it's bullet points of what to ask.
Yeah. And listen, when they call you, the best thing is just that, they'll ask you, hey, you buy houses? Yes, I buy houses. Try to get the address. I usually ask them, what are you selling? And then they start telling me. I say, oh, what's the address? Can you give me the address real quick? And can I call you back? Because then I'm already, I got their phone number. Hey, is this your phone number? Yes. First name. Try to get their last name if possible, and their address. And then, you could sit down and pull out your cheat sheet. I like to always call them. I used to always like to call them back. I said this probably last week too, but I felt a little bit more in control when I called them back, but when that phone rings, you have to answer it.
Yep.
You have to answer the first time, because they will call somebody else.
I've had that. Mike and I've had that a lot in the last few months, where if they call and we miss the call, you call them back and they're already talking to the next guy on the list.
Yeah.
Because everyone and their mother thinks they're a damn wholesaler right now. Everyone and their mother thinks they know how to do this.
It's not that hard, but they're not doing it right. They're getting these houses under contract for too much.
Yeah.
And they're not selling. It
just
happened today, right?
Go ahead. I was gonna tell them about Glenn Lyon. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, Thomas and Brandon, they're on the line now. I hope they're watching. But happened to us today. You could tell the Glenn Lyon story. I don't.
So Mike and I were sent this house 2 or 3 months ago by another wholesaler out of market. We went down, we met with the guy. The other wholesaler had it under contract for way too much. It's like, no, we can't help you. No, way too much in this case is $45,000 was too much.
Way too much.
And then one of our other friends, Ryan, got a call from this guy. And we went and got talking to him, and the guy's like, yeah, I really want to get 65. And we're like, all right, they was having a listing conversation. And then Brandon and his friend went down and talked to the guy and got him to agree to $31,000, which is on the edge of too much, but I think we can make it work.
We might have a buyer. That's why we said that. And actually, they did a great job because they got this guy for 65. And I said, we need this house for 25. I said, I could get on the phone, but this guy knows me. I'm the Italian guy in a Jeep, right? And Steve's the redhead guy. And so he already knows us. So we were trying to stay out of the whole deal a little bit. I said, tell the guy, tell him 25,000. It's Glenn Lyon. And he came down to 31,000. But here's the problem. He already went to a realtor yesterday.
Yeah.
That's on the market now. He has that house for how much, Steve? $99,000.
In fact, I'll pull it up and show you what $99,000 is not worth in this market. Was it 101?
But now he has a contract with the realtor. So at this point, there's nothing we could do, But what's funny is this the boys called earlier. And he sent the text saying, "Hey, listen, he has his contract. Steve says is let me see it here. I think it's first come first serve or something like that." He says, "Hold on a second. Okay, well, okay." He says, "Okay, I'll cancel the contract."
Yeah,
but the first cash offer is first come first serve. He's thinking he could get more before I sell, but I'm taking any cash offers. Well, that's not going to work with the realtor. Once he signed with a realtor, it doesn't.
No, and basically, I mean, from a legal standpoint, once he signed with a realtor, I'm out. Mike's not licensed yet, and the boys aren't licensed yet. But here's the thing: if that's what he's thinking, and you go and say, "Here's a contract, cancel your listing agreement," and then you can't find a buyer for his house, this guy's going to be first in line at the lawsuit table, trying to find some reason to beat you up. And he's going to be screwed, and he's going to possibly have damages. So you're like, no, I'm not touching that one with a 10-foot pole. But this in Glen Lyon, which is frankly the end of the world as far as our little metro area goes. It's a 3-unit, but only one of them is functional, and it's not that wonderful. I respect this realtor, but I don't know what he was thinking.
Steve, you have that bottom third on. I don't know why.
I don't even know where that came from. Thank you for the credit, Sam, but I've never figured out where that bottom third came from. Oh, there's a button over here I can put comments on. How do I make them not go on?
I think Sam's got to help you in the video department.
What's this? What about this fancy app you have, Mike? I don't know. Oh, no, it popped on from over here. Oops. All right, now I know what happened. All right. Anyway,
yeah,
I'll figure that out later. I'm not dealing with that now. But yeah, so when you're looking at these properties, and this is a little bit of next week's topic, but we'll go to it now. You're walking through this house and you're saying, all right, there isn't a surface in this building that doesn't need to be touched with at least paint and flooring. Look at the outside. It needs some help. And so you're adding this up. You're looking at all this work and you're saying, okay. Then you look at the downstairs, which is 2 gutted storefronts, not gutted to the studs, but gutted to the walls. Let me see if he shows any pictures of them. And you're saying, okay, if I'm going to make any revenue there, I got to build them out. And in this particular town, there is no commercial. He didn't even take a picture of the storefronts. In this particular town, there is no commercial district. So those have to be turned into residential. So now you go over to your happy little spreadsheet, which we'll also provide to you when you bring in a deal. It's part of this package, part of this app. Oh, sorry, it's over here. And you start looking at what this property needs. It needs 4,000 square feet of paint and flooring. It needs probably 30 windows. It needs a whole bunch of siding. I'm not going to measure the siding right now, but it needs a whole bunch of siding. Dollars to donuts, it might need a roof. It's going to need 3 kitchens. It's going to need 3 bathrooms. It's going to need a lot of stuff. But even with just what I've listed here, assuming the heating and air conditioning work fine, I'm at $76,000 before I even touch it. So it doesn't take a lot to get to high rehab numbers. And in this particular market, you're looking at a finished value of maybe $50,000 a unit, $75,000 a unit on the top end, but not in Glen Lyon. So if I have $150,000 finished value, three units at 50 grand each, and I got 75, 80 grand to fix it, just to fix it. Well, how on earth am I spending $99,000 to buy it? And that's where, if a guy is stuck on that number, like my feeling is with this guy, we don't even bother calling him back, or maybe you guys take one shot at it. But if he's stuck on 99, good luck. He needs a realtor at that point. We can't help him. We can only help those who are willing to be helped. And the math doesn't work here because we got to be selling to our end buyer of value. There's got to be meat on the bone.
I told them, tell him when you don't get 99,000 for your house, call us. Oh, well, that's it. Leave it at that. You know, some people they'll call back 6 months later. We'll watch when the listing ends because it's not selling for 99,000. And call us when it doesn't sell for 99,000. That's why the guy says, "Oh, I'll still take the 31 from you." You know, you're under contract with a real estate agent. We cannot touch it.
And he got us at 31 because he said, "Well, I have somebody else who do it at 35, but they can't close for 3 weeks or whatever. If you guys can close in 3 weeks,
yeah, there was 6 weeks. We could do it in 3 weeks.
Yeah. So if he wasn't, the guy in 6 weeks, well, now he's waiting 6 months for a listing agreement, and this thing was listed yesterday. So it was listed literally while he's having the conversation with us. So, and you know what? I wish him well. I hope he gets his number, but it can't be from us as wholesalers.
You can't even find a house there for 99,000.
No. And that brings up the other thing. When we get so the process of this, you fill out the form, we work with you to do the research, we come together and come up with an offer. Then we go to the seller, and we're with you the whole step of the way. This isn't you're doing it. These guys are doing great on their own, they're more comfortable doing it. But this is not something we throw you into the river and say, here, try to swim. But when we call the owner back and we say, Mr. Owner, here's what we think. It's not, we think your house is worth 20 grand. The conversation I had with that guy last week was, hey, things are selling on this street for $120,000. The best you're going to get is 25, 30, unless I list it, I might be able to get you like 50. Because here's the rehab that your house is going to need. This is why we don't want to answer how much is it worth questions on the first phone call, because you always get bit by that. It's when you call them back after doing a little bit of research, then you can have a more cogent answer. The four of us, Grant, Chandler, Mike, and Steve, can probably take a guesstimate in our local markets about what things are worth and come kind of close. But it's even at that, it's a risk. What part of Scranton are you in? What part of Wilkes-Barre are you? But when we call them back, we're not just giving them a blind number. We're telling them why. Here's why your property is only worth, because your neighbor only sold. I had a lady yesterday. She just canceled her listing contract at $250, and she wanted me to list it. And I said, "Yeah, I'll list it for $150." She's like, "Well, I just had it listed for $250." I said, "Yeah, how well did that work out for you? You sat with that listing for 6 months." I said, all your neighbors have sold for 120. I can't even put my name on 250. We have to be honest with our sellers and our buyers.
We have to be honest to ourselves.
Yeah.
Or, you know what I mean? You got to know how to price the house right. You got to do the 70% rule. You have to minus all your expenses. We got to minus, if we're going to keep it, in our wholesale fee in there, and be sturdy on that number. Because if we cave into them, maybe we'll sell it. We're not going to sell it. We're never going to get, an investor's not going to buy. Me and Steve, every day wholesalers call me and Steve and ask us to buy houses. And 99% of them are always, their numbers are off. Their construction numbers are off. You know, from, hey, it might need a little kitchen work, and it had no freaking kitchen in it. Right?
Yeah, right.
The floors aren't that bad. You know, they don't know. That's a wholesaler that doesn't know. He watched YouTube and he has no one to walk him through the whole situation. Right? He put this house, it was crazy. It was just crazy. Yeah. We see it all the time. And I got another message today from somebody on another house that just, I'm not even answering anymore.
No. And remember, your end buyers depend on you delivering value. And they're your repeat clients most of the time. Your sellers don't often have more than one or two houses in their quiver before they're out, because they're not professionals in this business.
But if you took care of them and listened to them and you got them out of a bad situation, they will tenfold. They
will send you their friends. Yes.
It is the best. That's why I don't get off the phone nasty with somebody. Though me and Steve talked with somebody the other day with Brandon and Thomas. The guy was not too happy, but he's an older guy. You know, he was already talking to a realtor. He might even sell the house for that price, and he might call us back.
Yeah.
But, you know, he's not too far off. He only wants to get 60 for that house, Steve. I think he could probably get 60.
Oh, I could have the 60 in a week on the MLS. I mean, because the house is functional. People can live there.
Yes, it's functional, but it needs all kinds of updates. But there's no money in the back end because it needs $80,000 in work. And so we're at 50 or 60, and it would have cap out at 150.
Yeah, about 150. So there's no room for a flipper. A home road warrior might get away with it. For a flipper, you got to come down lower.
Somebody that, you know, a construction guy that wants to live there, make it his house. It's a deal. It's a deal. He'll buy it.
And so when you're telling your buyers, especially, what's the house like, be honest with them. Say, listen, does someone live there? Yeah. Could someone live there? Yeah. Would I like to live there? Do I find this a place that I would look around and say, look how wonderful my life is? Not so much. It needs some heavy cosmetics. You know, the furnace is older than I am. It probably isn't going to last much longer. If you're honest with them, they'll be happier than if you mislead them. They come out and see that you misled them.
Yeah. Take good pictures. Pictures are important, especially if you send them to me, Steve, Grant, or Chandler. take as many pictures as you can. Someone can take video, whatever. You know, sometimes the people get a little weird. I ask them, hey, you mind if I take pictures or videos? And they're usually cool with it. Steve does like the undercover move, but
Only if I'm going to use them just for myself. But yeah,
but I mean, get good pictures. You
yeah.
know, so we could see the room. Try to get
And
different corners, especially in a bathroom. See this bathroom picture? Well, I really don't know what the bathroom needs.
Right. And if something looks ugly, wrong, not square, or broken, or otherwise bad, take 2 pictures of it. If the electric panel is not a panel brand you've seen recently in Home Depot or Lowe's, then take a picture of it. It's probably got to be removed. Anything that doesn't look like the house you grew up in or better than the house you grew up in, take a picture of it. Because certain types of cracks in foundations are okay. Certain types of cracks in foundations are very deadly. We'll help you with that plan. Basically, when you're talking to them, you're telling the seller, listen, Mr. Seller, your neighborhood's only worth 120. I got 60, 70,000 in work here, plus I've got the risk. I've got to be somewhere low. And we help them get to that. Because if nothing else, I've had buyers who hated my repair estimate, thought I was completely nuts. That was you, Mike, a couple of years ago. And but at least I can defend where I'm coming from. Mike used to always tell me my numbers are too high and still does. At least look, here's my number. Your number might be different, might be lower, might be higher. I don't know, but here's how I got to what I got. I didn't just look at this house in Glen Lyon and say, oh, that's $15,000 in touch-ups. No, I'm telling you, it needs 3 kitchens, 3 bathrooms, 3 of everything. And the agent didn't even take pictures of the gutted first floor.
And you know what? It's good because sometimes his numbers are wrong and mine are right or whatever.
Yeah.
And we bounce off each other. And now you have Chandler and Grant also here too, right? So now there's 4 of us actually looking at the deal, running numbers, taking all your info. We're in the back checking everything out. And
it's not about right or wrong because we all have different opinions. Oh, I think I'd get flooring for this, or oh, I didn't see that kitchen to be that bad, or whatever. The more opinions we get, the biggest thing is you're letting everyone know, here's how I got to this number. This is what I saw. And
then we'll tell you, hey man, you're right. That's good. Yeah. That's how you judge a kitchen. That's how you base out floors. And yeah, I mean, it's not that hard.
No.
But you still need to, you could still be wrong.
And for numbers wise, just to put it in perspective, if we're getting 3 850s out of that house in Glen Lyon, and these are all simulated numbers. I'm not using these as being exactly the numbers in this particular house. I'm just saying as an example. But you say you're grossing 30,000, your costs are 4,000. So I've got 26,000 if I don't take anything out for maintenance, vacancy management, which means if I'm a stupid landlord and I'm not smart about the business, it's worth 264,000. This is probably how they're getting to the 99,000, saying, oh, it's worth 260. I'm going to put 120 into it. If this rehab number was 120, 99,000 is a great price to buy the house for. First of all, I don't think it's worth 260 in any market. But second of all, they didn't take out anything for maintenance, vacancy management. So I'm going to show my buyers and my sellers these, and I'm taking out 10%, by the way. I'm not taking out 5%. All of a sudden, I see the building is worth 172, best case scenario, minus the 120 I'm putting into it. And guess what? I'm no longer at 99,000. I'm at 50 grand.
And that's stuff that we could help you with. These are for multifamily homes. But you got to understand that. You got to understand, what they actually looking at, the cap rate and all this other stuff. But I don't think you should really get into that, Steve, until we actually have one to walk them through.
No. But this isn't deep at all. This is just to say, if something's worth 175, 172, even 250, and there's 150,000 in work,
and 99,000 for the sale,
you can't make money. There's no money to be made.
And the most expensive house that is in that area is 200,000.
Yeah. And so basically, to recap, because we're right around an hour now, to recap what your steps are right now, and you can reach out. This is where you should reach out to us directly, and we can help you with your specific marketing situation. But you want the phone number, you want the email address, you probably 2 phone numbers, you want the Facebook and all the business pages. These are pages where you're in control of the content, not groups.
And let's get, so I understand Facebook, you guys are like, oh no, everyone's Instagram because they're all in their 20s, right? Or younger.
I forgot about that.
But the 50 and the 60 and the 70-year-old is using Facebook. Those are the ones that have these properties for years that might be in trouble, that have equity in a house, maybe own the house outright.
Yep.
So Facebook is really strong. And so is Instagram, but I would have both.
Yeah. Yeah. This is not a matter of having, oh, gee, I don't like that one, or, oh, gee, that's not for me and my friends. Because remember, you're probably not buying houses or selling them to you and your friends. As I tell a lot of especially my younger students, the people you hang out with and like to party with and have fun with are probably not the people who are in your business or who can help your business. Your business people are probably a different crowd. That's fine. That's why you have business pages and personal pages. You also want to come up with when you're doing your phone number, memorable. Mike, what's a couple of your numbers?
5555555. 284-6100.
Yep. So when you're on that site, it may be hard to find a good number. Local area codes are great. It's less important nowadays because everyone seems to be having cell phones from everywhere. But local area codes are great. But having a quick and easy number,
I feel that I think local is better.
Yeah.
If you're doing in the 5770, don't use 262, right? Then go get another one for a different state. So I do stuff in New York. I have a New York number.
Yep.
Right. I do not use 284-6100. That's my.
At least keep it in the region of where you're hunting. Like if you're in New York City and you can't get a New York City number, get one that's maybe Brooklyn. Get something nearby.
Yeah, because they're looking at it. So you guys, when I get a phone call and I see not a 570, I don't even want to answer it, but I do. I answer. Oh, Steve, I don't hear you. You're on mute.
Really?
Okay, now I hear. Yeah, you were just, your mouth is moving and no volume.
Oh, that's just probably the audio delay. I hope, because I wasn't even touching my phone. But yeah, and what you were saying is about you see the number come in from anywhere. You pretty much answer every call, but you kind of know if they're not from the area you're selling in. They may not be a valid call.
Well, you know what it is, Steve? I know when it's either another wholesaler or an investor.
Yeah. And when they call you up and you say, "Hey, are you a buyer?" "Well, I'm an investor." "Okay, well, do you have your proof of funds?" "Well, no, I'm an investor." "Okay, so you're really a wholesaler. Let's be honest with each other about what we both are. It's okay to work with them. We can joint venture with them, but we want to understand who they are and what they are." Real quick, so you also then want to have a business card. You want to, that's like the one, go to Vistaprint, get the 500 cards for $12 or whatever they're charging now, and have them. You want to really have those. We can help you with designs. We can help you with layouts. And real quick, what you don't do, because I just had somebody try to do this on my Williamsport lead, which I actually let go. It was the first one I've ever in 25 years paid the seller their deposit and said, "I can't help you, go away." Because we ran out of time on the contract, but we had a buyer who got to the closing table and said, "Nah, I don't feel like it." So we had no justifiable reason to whatever. We took his deposit. We paid the deposit out. That was the right thing to do. That's why he had a deposit in place. So if he did this, we would have a penalty. But now his friend wants to sell the house to somebody. I said, and it's like, my friend, he called me this morning, said his friend was on the way to that house and he wanted to go in that house using the lockbox code. And I said, no. I said, turn your friend around. I was like, what do you mean? I said, I don't have equitable interest in it anymore. Neither do you. If we don't have a contract with the person, we're not trying to move their house. We're not telling anyone about their house. Until we have it under contract, we're not doing anything with it. This is not a game of verbal. So we'll help you when you bring in the property. We'll walk you through all the process. Until the seller signs the contract, nobody knows we have the house except those people in our group.
Yes, we're not telling anybody. Zero.
Right. There's two reasons for that. One is it's illegal to be selling a house you don't have control over. And two is it's stupid. Because if you tell somebody, like, now this guy knows Williamsport doesn't have a contract on it, he can go and scoop up the house. I don't care. I've already told the seller he's not going to get the house from, any for anyone else but me, but I don't care. I don't have the house anymore. But I'm not going to make it easy for him to go around me. So we always work with paper contracts. So your assignment for the next week, make sure all of your social media are set up. Please send us messages with your social media business pages so we know you got that. Send us pictures of, and Grant and Chandler, I'll let you guys figure out because most of the team is yours, how we want to get that. Send us pictures of your bandit sign plans, your business card plans. Give us an idea where you're at so we have a little bit of feedback coming back as to whether everyone's keeping up so we can move on to the next thing.
All right.
Next week is going to be we're going to pick a property and analyze it.
Yeah, with our boys up here, we're just gonna do another meeting this weekend, and we'll just have everybody. We'll go through and make sure everybody's got it all together. So we had another meeting last weekend, so they're all working on it.
Yeah, not too long ago we talked to them about it. They all have they got their Google Voice set up, so they know about that. We're gonna have them a second one set up too, for in case it needs to be disposed or whatever. And then we already got a bunch of these bandit signs kind of prepared. And I was actually on the phone with Mike talking about that. And then we got some flyers set up with templates for everybody to use for marketing too. So we got everything from, the bandit signs to socials to flyers, whether they want to print it or post it or whatever. So we got that set up, and we'll send you what we got too.
All right, cool. That's great. Yeah. And remember, guys, this is a team business. We're all doing it together. This is not a business where there's any competition within us. Because the getting of the seller is a little bit competitive, but once we have the seller, everybody can help JV and bring the buyer, and we'll cover that next week.
Yeah.
Any other questions? All right. Anything else we should cover, guys, or should we wrap it? We're a little over an hour now.
Yeah, that's it. You know what? So, all right. So everyone gets that Google number and everything. And next week, maybe they'll, even if we can get a headshot of people, anyone has a headshot, we can get it sent too, because I might build a page on one of my sites, Steve.
That'd be a good idea. Yeah.
So I might take down my New York site and then have like an agent, they could actually have their own page. I'm just trying to figure it out.
If you haven't got room on it there, if you haven't got room on it there, let me know. We can do it on one of my sites, but also next week we'll show everybody Real Estate Community Network, and they can make that their primary site. They can have their RECM profile.
Yeah. If we have time, we'll do that too. Perfect.
Right.
Excellent, Steve.
All right, guys. See you next week. Let's touch base during the week, and we'll go from there.
All right. Thank you.
Sounds good.
Yep. Thank you, everybody, for joining this week. We'll see you next
week.
Thanks. Bye-bye. Oh.